Some people say that the floss in these dimensions floss organizers gets hopelessly tangled. Does it really? Well, if you stitch like I've been for the past week or so, sometimes this isn't as bad as it looks. It really isn't. And if I had taken the time to just straighten out my threads the tiniest bit before I put them back in the project bag, this would not have happened. But I was in the mood to stitch, and I wasn't in the mood to watch my threads, and this is what I wound up with. And I'm not worried about it because I know it's not as hard to untangle as it looks like it's going to be. I've had worse, and I've fixed it. So sometimes your 2-thread cards will get stuck. Don't worry about that part. Pick a card, like we're doing a magic trick. Start with an end and just gently, the key word here is gently, pull the thread from the tangle. These aren't going to be knotted. I think I've once had to cut one. Now, having said that, this will be the one that doesn't come loose. There we go. Put it off to the side. Take the next thread. And the more threads you do, the easier it will get. Depending on how loosely or tightly things are snarled, you may be able to get more than one at once. The key is to go slowly and gently and not get all stressed out about it because it's embroidery floss that is not lying smooth and straight, and it is not by a long shot the worst thing that could happen to you today. I have had tangles that have taken longer. The more threads I take off the organizer and the thinner the bits I'm working with are that are left, it gets a little more difficult sometimes. You can see where that was looped around there. I hear that there are people who love untangling yarn. I am not one of those people. I mean, I will untangle it. I will force myself to untangle it because if I paid for that yarn, gosh darn it, I'm going to use it. This is a little, I guess, more stressful because I need these threads to finish this kit. This is Beach Babies, and I am loving Beach Babies right now. So here is one. I'm a little more tangled. Just pick at it one thread at a time, 1 6-strand length at a time. And if you get something like that, just kind of gently. These aren't going to be knotted because there's nothing in my project bag that would have caused them to knot. So don't go twisting things around other things and creating knots that you didn't already have, because that's where you will create problems. This right here is what is holding the 2 cards together. And it's okay. I can do this. Kind of tug at the snarl. You'll loosen things up a bit. You don't want to pull so hard that you make something knot tightly. And it's just going to come out. I'm going to prove my point here. Yes, I have cut threads now and then when I got frustrated enough. I've cut like the last inch off of a strand. So here we go. I've got most of this is off going the other way and untangled. I've got a little bit left. Of course, some of what I got off and untangled has swung back over to the front. So I'll tell you, doing this in front of the camera is a little harder than doing it in my lap would be. Oh, come on, let go. Okay, we are down to, what are we down to? All but a couple of threads are loose. A couple in this case being what, 10 or 15? I do one card at a time. That lets me see that I'm making some progress. Okay, and we are at the last little bit that is joining the two cards, and I'm trying to look at this through the camera while I'm recording, so I can't quite see what is going on here. Okay, this white thread, where do you go? I don't know where you go. Back to the other card is where you go. We did it. That is a tiny knot, and I am not... I think that will come out. But I can't do it without getting it closer to my face and pulling out the probably a needle to put through the knot. So here we went from that to this, and this really, if you just use your fingers to gently brush it out, I was kind of flinging these back to the other side of the card while I untangled. And again, trying to do this and keep it in camera frame is making it more something. Here is card 1, relatively pretty and smoothed out with all of its colors. Now I will start on card 2. If I just straightened these out and wrapped them around a piece of cardboard or twisted them or braided them or did any of a dozen other things before I shoved them back in my project bag, they wouldn't snarl. But I stitch late at night and sometimes I get impatient and it's way past the time I should be asleep, or I need to jump and cook dinner. I spend my stitching time stitching. Second card, we are going to do the same exact technique of starting at one end, kind of one color at a time, just pulling these loose. Okay, this yellow is further on. You just have to take a second to look at what you are pulling and where it belongs in the scheme of things. And I'm trying to do this all in one take so that we can see how long it takes, because I am convinced it's not going to be that long, and I'm also kind of curious. There we go. Sometimes I can find a whole bunch of strands that just aren't really caught up at all, and they'll come loose in one movement. They're going to do that. I'm not going to make it more difficult. If it is being difficult, then do one 6-stranded length of floss at a time, not one individual thing at a time if you are working with floss that still has 6 strands. If you do like I do and pull off a single ply at a time, then yes, you will have thinner strands, and that is just how that happens. So the gray is, yep, the gray is still in there. It gets easier as you go until you have that last moment of what is still tangled. We're almost there. My tripod mount is blocking my time, so I don't know what time we are at, but I am not feeling like it's too terribly long. Would I advise being more careful with your floss so it doesn't get tangled like this? Oh, probably. I know that if I stop and straighten before it gets to this point, that it's quicker to undo. I also know that I had the idea for this video, so last night and the night before I was stitching and deliberately didn't make this better. It was already almost this bad, and I didn't make it much better because I did want to do the video and show you that tangled floss is not a deal breaker. Maybe it is. If you don't have the patience for this, then I would recommend that if you don't have the patience and you want to do these kits, keep your floss straight and braided, or wrap it around a piece of cardboard, or do one of the many things you can do to keep your floss from tangling. Or find a different organization method. I like keeping it on the cards because I am less likely to lose floss if I do it that way. The only times I run out of floss, there is one little knot there. It will be okay. And this is where, see, I have peeled up these to get pink off of it for the bucket I was stitching on last night, and I am not gonna fight with that. These little strands, I am guessing they were just in the bottom of my project bag. They're from this project, but I bet they were, judging by their length, trimmed off from pieces where I had not stitched the whole length. And now we have card number 2 all straightened out, or mostly straightened out. These are a lot of the colors I've been stitching with that this week, so I think that's why they're less gorgeous and smooth. And if I wanted to, I could take these and braid them or coil them or do something to make them look all nice and pretty. The knots are gone. My floss is usable. It was always usable because you saw how I was pulling at a color to get it loose from the tangle. Well, I can pull at the color to get it loose and then peel off the strand I need to stitch with. So I was still stitching from this the way it was. I was probably close to the point where I was going to need to settle down and do this. Do you work straight from these floss organizers? Are you more careful with them than I am, or do you wind up with tangles? Usually I am a little more careful than this. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your strategies are for working with floss from kits, because I know different kits package it in different ways, and I love that they sort the floss. If it keeps me from having to use a color card and a flashlight and agonize over the different shades of green, I am all for these floss organizers. And I love Dimensions kits. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I'll be back with you with more videos soon.